So welcome along to dynamic, oh, he said, yoga, groaning as you get down to the floor. We're actually going to start in a lying down position on the floor. And so we're going to have the knees high. I'm going to use the block today, but I'm going to have that out towards the front of the mat. I'm going to use it for this couple of minutes that we're lying on the ground. And, oh, just wriggle out the spine. It's a nice, easy start to this class, but it does build. And I'm going to keep the feet wide, close in, and let the knees kind of drop into the center a little bit to see if I can open up the back of the pelvis a fraction. Let the spine naturally sink to the floor. Now you can either bring your hands onto your body or you can have them down by the side of your body. It's your choice. If they're down by the side, palms up. If your hands are on your body, ideally you'd have your right hand low below your navel and your left hand above. And focusing on slowing your breath down a little bit from its normal breath. Consciously taking control. Doesn't have to be super long or deep, but just a little bit longer than normal. I'm going to draw the knees in towards the body. Just place the hands on top of the kneecaps and make some nice big juicy circles with those knees in the air. Just drawing the knees in a little bit, getting a tailbone to lift fractionally off of the ground, smoothly taking the knees wide, letting them go forwards back into the center line. So I'm starting to move into the shoulders a little bit as well, getting some extension and retraction in there. And then we'll bring the feet to the floor, close to the bottom. We'll take the feet wide, knees high, and arms out 90 degrees to the body. We're going to scissor the legs gently towards the right side. And take a few breaths here, just trying to let this bottom leg sink down, open up, keeping the shoulders flat to the ground. So I'm not turning the head in any direction, keeping the eyes focused towards the ceiling. Lift the knees back up. And then take them over to the opposite side. Noticing if there's any differences between how it feels on each side. And then draw the knees up as we breathe in, keeping the feet wide, rolling onto the side edges. We roll back over to the opposite side with an exhale. Inhaling up, rolling across. Coming back again. And through. So we'll make this the last side going down. And ease back to the center. Wriggle the feet back in towards the center line and bring the heels in close. Draw the right knee in towards the body and take the hands around the shin. Slide the left heel out along the floor. I'm going to turn that thigh in a little bit, and I want to press the heel out enough so that I can get the heel and the back of the calf to touch the ground whilst drawing the belly down and my lower back a little closer to the floor. Actually going to try and send the tailbone away and the sitting bones along with that long leg. And I'm going to slide the heels back in, change over, opposite side. Slide right leg out, turn the thigh in a little bit so that the toes naturally point towards the sky rather than just flexing and rotating the ankle. Again, we're going to try and get that heel, calf, really lengthening out through the legs, tailbone and sitting bones away to the front of the mat. Just using a little bit of work in the arms to keep the knee in towards the body. And then we'll release. I'm going to come into bridge pose. So I'm going to bring the feet about hip distance apart, heels directly underneath the knees, palms by the side of the body, wrapping the arms in towards the body, and just lifting the shoulders, drawing them under a little bit, get the neck nice and long. And then on the exhale, press the lower back into the floor and let the tailbone lift away from the ground. And start to press a little bit more down through the feet and the shins to let the hips lift up. We're going to come up into a nice line between the knees, hips, and shoulders, and then inhale the hands up towards the sky and let them float down to the floor behind. And inhale back up. And this time I'm going to bring the hands and the hips down to the floor together to meet that starting position. And then exhale, lower spine into the floor, tailbone lifts, and we get that nice line. Inhale, hands high and over. And exhale back down to the floor. We'll do 3 more of these. And last one. As you arrive, just wiggle the feet in, really close to the body, center line of the mat. Left leg comes up, we're going to take a figure four. So we're going to turn the toes outwards, bend the knee and bring that ankle to the outside of the thigh, the opposite leg, keeping the foot flexed and the knee towards the front of the mat. Going to draw the right knee in towards the body, going to bring the chin in towards the chest, just lift the abdominal muscles a little bit to bring the hands around the front of the shin. And then see if I can lay the spine gently back down to the floor, keeping a long neck, and also see if I can drive very gently the tailbone to the floor. So you can feel the stretch around the back of the shoulders. If you find your chin is migrating to the back of the mat, see if you can just pull the chin back in a little bit towards the throat so you get this nice long neck, rather than compressing the back of the neck near the skull. And release from there. Untangle the legs, give a little shake out, bring the foot down. We'll take the opposite side. Leg lifts up, rotates out. Little bend, little placement up onto the tippy toes, chin towards the chest, wrap our body up. Keep that right foot flexed. Use the body down, tailbone towards the floor. Release the legs, give them a little shake up towards the sky, and bring the knees in towards your body. Roll to your right side, use your hands to roll yourself gently back from the side of the mat up. We'll come on to all fours. And we'll just take a little time to bring the hands underneath the shoulders. I'm going to walk the legs out into a plank. So we want the hips to be as high as the shoulders, and rather than sinking down, we press away from the floor. I'll hold this for about 30 seconds or so. Still trying to press away from the floor. Press out through the heels so the legs feel fully engaged. Hips are lifted. Head is in line with the body. And then we're going to take the hips all the way to the sky and press into the hands a little bit, moving back into that down dog. Now we'll float into the plank again, keeping it high, and taking it back into the down dog. And floating through. So again, we're going to do this a few times. So we'll come back into the plank position. Take the feet deliberately as wide as the mat, and make sure the hands are underneath the shoulders. We're going to play patty cake. You're going to take the right hand away from the floor, tap the left shoulder, try and keep your heart and your belly button over the center line of the mat. So you lean out to the side as minimal as you can. So it takes a little bit of time. And as you get an exhale. There is a certain amount of coordination that comes from practice. Sometimes we have a more dominant shoulder and arm. In this case, you can definitely notice the difference between one side and the other. The amount that I lean out is about double. Last one of those, and then back into that down dog. Bring the feet back into a hip distance apart, and we're going to come up onto the tippy toes, and then just walk the feet in small little steps, keeping the feet parallel and that hip distance apart, straight, walking the body in to a forward bend. Waddling for the last mount. Got a little more. So that's good news. Hopefully you did too. You can take a couple of breaths here. Soft knees early in the morning. Those hamstrings have a little bit of a chance to survive in the forward folds. Okay, ready? Bring the hands onto the hips. Exhale. Face off to keep the spine nice and flat. So just shake that out a little bit. And then we'll bring the hands in towards the heart as we take a breath in. And exhale down to the floor. Take a breath. Right foot to the back of the mat. And take a little breath. Drop the back knee down. Untuck the toes. Bring the hands alongside the body. And then float the arms forwards until it feels like the arms and the torso are in line. Send the tailbone down as you draw your belly in. Let yourself lift up. And take the elbows out wide and lift the chest up towards the sky. And then follow the arms up toward the sky, back down to the floor. We'll step it back into a down dog from here. Come forwards into a plank. Now I'm going to take half plank and up dog. If you need to bring the knees to the floor for the first couple of rounds to let your shoulders wake up in this early morning session, then do. But just lift yourself gently through your up dog into your down dog. We'll take a couple breaths here. Lifting the hips high, making sure the hands are flat. And we'll draw the right knee into the chest, bring the foot through for lunge. And take one long breath here and press out through the heel. Get that back leg to be as straight as we can. Push off the toes on the exhale into the forward bend. And then bring the hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift. Do the same again. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Left foot back. Knee to the ground. Untuck the toes. Draw the hands forwards, a little bit of a lift in the body. Palms facing the strong arms. Lengthening out. The shoulders are wide. Take the elbows out of the chest. Bring the hands high. Down to the floor. Take a little step back. The down dog. Come forwards into plank. Half plank. Lifting through the up dog. Rolling into down dog. Again, we'll bring the left knee in through for lunge. Roll the shoulders back away a little bit from the ears. Press off the back toes into the forward bend. And then you start to lift the hips. Hands onto the hips, and then we'll lift everything up. Take the hands high this time, and towards the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Take the right foot back and drop the heel in. Going to come into warrior two, just lifting the hands by the side of the body. The torso lifts a little. Right arm extends out, and then we'll use that to help bring ourselves up. We'll float the hands high, and we're going to rotate the hips and chest and lift the back heel to come into high crescent. We draw the ribs down, shoulders are wide, arms are straight, and the fingers are charged with energy. We're spreading out between little finger and the thumb. And then we'll bring the hands to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. We'll float into the plank, forward into the half, lifting through the up dog, back into our down dog. We'll draw the right knee to the chest on the breath in. Exhale that through. Relax the shoulders as we come in deep into the lunge, dropping the hips. Push off the toes into that forward bend. Hands onto the hips, soften the knees a little bit. Keep the weight in the toes. Lifting high, hands into the heart. Second side. Left leg back, heel drops in. Keep the knee over the front ankle as you lift. Left arm forwards. Draw yourself up. Hands come high. We rotate and spin. Draw the tailbone down. Finding a balance point. Strong through the arms, strong through the back leg, pressing out a little. Hands come to the floor. Step it back. From down dog, half plank. Up dog. Try and fire evenly through both shoulders into your dog. Left knee comes in. Through for the lunge. Push off the back toes. And we're to the front of the mat. And let's come onto the hips. So we'll do similar. Rather than high crescent, we're going to take humble warrior. So exhaling down through. Long spine. Hold it in. Right leg back, drop the heel in. Bring hands alongside the body. Right arm cartwheels forwards and let us lift. And once we're into the warrior two, we'll take the hands behind the back. Rotate the chest and the shoulders. Keep that black foot planted. Lengthen out for the first exhale. Take a breath in. Second exhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together and lift the hands as high as you can. Take another breath and exhale yourself through the inside of that thigh and down closer towards the floor, letting the head tumble, letting those arms lift a little more. And try and bring your pubic bone a little more to the center line of the mat. Rather than letting the hips pop out to the side, you draw the groins back into the center line. And we'll let the hands come back down to the floor and step it back into our down dog. Just the feet as you need to. Come into your plank, half plank. The legs strong. They help with the lift. Back into your down dog. Right knee in towards the chest and through for lunge. And step it forwards. Hands on the hips, wave into the toes, soften the knees, flat back. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Exhale down. Take a breath. Left foot back. Drop the heel in. Warrior two for lift. Hands behind for humble. Shoulders back, belly in. Rotate, tailbone down. Lengthen forwards, breath in. Exhale, hands high and squeeze the shoulder blades. Breath. And then fold down deep as you can. And hands come to the floor. Step it back into our dog. Plank to half plank. Foot laces are down. Drawing ourselves up. You can roll over the toes or you can step the feet, whichever feels easier. Left leg into the chest. Bring the foot through. When you find your balance, push off that forward bend. Hands come to the hips and we lift up. Inhale high. Bring the hands into the heart. And shake it all out. Especially the wrists. It's quite a lot of work. So we're going to flow into a little mini sequence again. We're going to take some wide leg forward bends and some twists. Allow ourselves to take the hands higher on the breath in. Hands will come in towards the heart. We'll exhale forwards and down. Take a little breath. Taking the right foot back first, we'll drop the heel in. Let ourselves lift into our warrior two. Now as we arrive, we'll turn the palm on the front hand. Take that into reverse warrior. I'm going to walk the back hand slowly down the leg. Take the top arm up and over. Stretch out through the fingers. Lift the chest towards the sky. And make sure the front knee doesn't collapse in. We'll come back into warrior two. Extend over the front thigh into side angle. I'm going to press the forearm against the inside of the thigh. Take the top arm up towards the sky and then lift as high as I can through that fingertip up towards the ceiling. Turn the palm forwards and then extend the hand out so the arm gets very close to the ear. You're rolling your chest up towards the sky and scooping the hips underneath you, pressing down into the back foot. We'll come from there back into Warrior Two. Then float the hands high and bring them onto the inside of this front foot. And walk fingers around the long side of the mat. This is where the wide forward bend comes in. So you can adjust the feet in or out as it feels more comfortable through the groin. Press lightly down through the feet so you take the strain out of the ankles a little bit. I'm going to place the right hand on the floor directly underneath my chest. And I'm going to start to turn my torso first towards the left. So my left hand comes away naturally from the floor. I'll draw the left elbow up and then extend out through the arm towards the sky. Simple as that. Bring the hand back down and rotate through. It's very deliberate. I rotate first, then I extend the arm out. So it keeps it soft in the shoulder. That means that I'm getting the rotation through the spine rather than trying to pull my arm up towards the sky and overstraining the shoulder and the chest. So I want to keep it as effective as I can from an energy point of view, but also reducing the amount of tension that builds in the body. It's really helped you too much. So these are big rotations. Trying to keep those feet pressing down lightly as you rotate as well. Coming into the last set of lifts for me. It's more about time than quantity. So if you're turning quicker or slower, doesn't really matter. Hands come down, and then we'll walk it into the front of the mat. So we're back into a nice lunge on the fingertips. Take a little breath. Press off the toes of the back foot into that forward bend and let ourselves hang just for a moment. Now we'll bring the hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift up. We can do the same to the opposite side. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. Exhale down low. Taking the right with the left foot back. Caught myself out there. Hands alongside the body to lift up into our Warrior Two. And that little pause, we're just waiting for this part of the pelvis to stabilize and get as neutral as it can. Then we'll turn the palm on the front hand for a reverse warrior. You can use the same technique, walking the fingers down. Bringing that arm close to the ear, the chest. Awareness of the front knee being over the ankle. Drawing maybe a little towards the little toe. Come back into Warrior Two. And then slowly extend out. That forearm pressing in. Top arm lifts. I get as much height as I can, that extra little inch. Arm turns forwards. And the hand goes towards the front of the mat. So the idea is the body is lifting itself up, not really leaning any weight onto this front arm. I'm just using it to counterlever the leg and the shoulder. I'll come back into Warrior Two. Hands come high and onto the inside of this front leg again. We're going to walk around. Allow ourselves to take the feet nice and wide again. Toes are in, heels are out. Body is long. Now I'm going to very specifically press down through the feet and think about charging the tailbone back and up and try and lift it just a fraction towards the sky. I can feel the difference in the muscles around the top of the hamstrings against the sitting bones. I'm going to hinge at the hips, let the chest start to drop, and I'm going to see how low I can get. As the head actually hits the floor, you've definitely got more than you need to. That's far enough. But for many of us, getting the elbows somewhere close to the ground is achievable. A little bit of practice. We're still trying to lift the hips up. So you feel the difference in the legs from the previous pose. A lot more rebound in the legs from the ground. Let ourselves lift up slowly, halfway. Bring the fingers gently round into the front of the mat, back into our lunge. And take a breath here, and then step carefully into that forward bend. And take a little breath from here. Bring the hands onto the hips, and let ourselves lift up. I'm going to shake that out a couple of times, and then just step back into about the middle of the mat, roughly. Bring the hands into the heart. Take a little breath. And inhale the hands towards the sky. Now interlace the fingers and send the index finger up towards the sky. And I'm going to take a little back bend there. So I'm going to press the feet down, let the eyes look towards the hands, stretch out through straight arms, and feel those deltoids opening out. And come back into the center, and I'm going to take it into a side bend over to the left, pressing down through the right leg. Come back into the center. Take myself to the right. I come back into the center. Take another back bend. Lift up. Come back in. Center. Over to the left of the side bend. Exhaling. Inhaling up. Across the other side. Come back into the center. One more set. Back bend. Lift. Center. Left. Back to the center. Over to the right. Come back into the center. Let the hands come in towards your heart. Now just check that your feet are parallel and hip distance apart, and then allow yourself to soften your knees in the same direction your toes point. I'm going to take a little breath from here, sit back into a deeper chair pose, and we're going to extend the hands out above the shoulders. Strong, energetic fingers stretching out. I'm going to hinge from here. Let the hands come down towards the floor. Walk the fingers forwards a little bit, just away from them. I'm going to soften the left knee just a fraction and lift the right heel from the floor, and then slowly kick back that right leg and out. And come up onto the fingertips and coming into warrior three. So if you're taking the fingers a little bit too far forwards or not far enough, you can move them around as you wish to. But the back leg is pressing out straight. We're actually trying to lift the body up, pressing down through the standing leg, a little bit of a bend in the knee, so we're not locking the leg out. That little bit of softness helps for balance. And we're trying to keep the hips square to the ground. So imagine that the hip joints on both sides of your body, equal distance from the floor, rather than rolling the hip up towards the sky. And then we'll soften the knee, and leg comes down to the floor. Bring the hands back onto the hips, and let ourselves lift up. Bring hands in towards our heart. Soften the knees again over the toes. Sit back into the chair. Extend out through the arms. Belly in. Nice long back. We'll hinge forwards, let the arms come forwards with us. And then hinging from the hips, the hands can come to the floor. Walk them forwards that little bit again. Soften the right leg this time. Lift the heel of the left leg. Kick the leg out and back. Come onto the fingertips. And find our warrior three position. And try and keep the shoulders away from the ears in this version when the fingertips are on the floor. And then we'll soften the front knee, let the bottom, so the top leg come back down to the floor. Hands in towards the feet. Lift the hips up for the last time and bring the hands under the hips. Soften the knees to lift up. So back into just standing position. So we're going to see if we can take the warrior three, now we've practiced, but from a standing point of view. So we're going to take a little breath from here. Bring the hands in towards the heart. And interlace the fingers and raise them above the head. So the index finger points out. Now soften the knees over the toes and take the weight into the right leg. And take a little breath from here, lift the left foot away from the floor, and then very slowly start to kick the leg back as I let the body come forwards. Okay, try and keep the hands out directly in front of the shoulders. And soften the knee. Let yourself to drop the back foot down to the floor so it's like you're coming into a high crescent. Let the hands come back down by the side of your body and towards your heart. You can lean forwards a little bit and just step it back into the front of the mat. Shake out the legs. Take a little time to catch your breath. So we'll take the hands high again. Interlace the hands again. Let that index finger lift up. Get a nice stretch out through the shoulders. Get a long body. Soften the knees. Make sure you start with them parallel in the feet. Take the weight into the left leg. Slowly take the right foot away from the floor. Allow yourself to hinge forwards and kick back at the same time. Again, we're trying to keep the hips square to the ground. And then soften the front knee. Drop the back foot down. That high crescent position. Just let the hands come down gently in towards the heart. Look forwards and step it in. Then hands high again on the breath. In towards the heart. We're going to come down to the floor and come down to all fours. Just allowing ourselves to move through a down dog, a little lift at the spine. Let the shoulders open out a bit more. Come into the plank and drop the knees down. We'll take a couple of rounds of cat-cow. Just drawing the chest forwards, rolling the shoulders back. And the spine get a little bit more movement after all that work of trying to hold the torso straight and strong and long. We're getting a little bit of fluid back in to the muscles. So just changing the direction and the way we use the muscles continuously through our practice. The body really never knows what's coming next. I mean, I do because I've got a plan, but it still surprises my body. Okay, I'm going to come into neutral and allow myself to sit down onto the heels and the toes underneath. Now, for some people, that will be enough. Other people can then press into the hands a little bit and get a little bit of increase of pressure into the toes. And some people will be happy to allow themselves to come right up and take the weight. Now, if you're able to get into this position, allow yourself to take the arms out to the side. The other two positions are very valid, so you can stop at any of those you wish. You're going to bring the right arm across, left arm locks, and we're going to draw the right shoulder around a little bit towards the chest, keeping the torso of the chest pointing forwards. We're just stretching out the back of the shoulders a little bit. Done quite a lot of lifting. So making sure we keep the length in those. We'll let ourselves go the opposite way. Try and keep the shoulders down away from the ears if you can. Okay, so that's all the easy stuff done. Now the strong stuff. Come back into all fours and untuck the toes and just give the toes a little bit of a press out. And then we're going to tuck the toes underneath and come back into our down dog. And we're going to take a few rounds of down dog, knee to chest, and then knee to tricep. We'll do a few times on one side and then a few times on the other side. So from this down dog position, we take the right knee in towards the chest and then move into plank and then try to draw the knee in towards the nose as high as I can and press into the hands so around the back a lot. As I lengthen back into the down dog and the kick, right leg out towards the sky, draw the knee back in towards the body, float into the plank, squeeze back, kick out the leg, trying to keep the hips stable and square, and shoulders as well. Knee comes in as tight as I can, draw through, get as close as a touch as I can, kick it out. This time the knee comes in towards the chest, I take it to the tricep as high as I can, back, kick it out, come forwards, into chest, then plank, tap tricep, back, kick out the leg, knee in towards the body last time, kick the leg out again, bring the foot to the floor, staying in down dog, left knee comes in, we roll through, move back and lengthen out the leg. Knee comes in, little squeeze around the spine, pressing down into the floor with those hands, pressing out. Knee comes in again, final time of this, close as you can, that little knee and nosy touch. Knee into the chest, and then out to the tricep. Back in to dog, leg lengthens out, knee comes in, comes forwards into the plank, tap tricep, and back. Last time coming in. And lengthen out, foot to the floor, whew. And then we'll come forwards into plank and bring the knees to the ground. Sit back onto the heels again and just shake out those wrists. I'm going to take a couple of breaths then in child's pose. So I'm going to take the knees wide to let the body come down. Now, if you're able to get the head to the floor, great, but if not, use a block. And then take the hands towards your toes. You can relax the shoulders and rest the fingers a little. I'm going to take a little bit of a pit stop here. Bring the hands forwards again. Press into the floor to lift ourselves up. Just going to bring the knees back in and lift ourselves up onto all fours. And we're going to take a side plank variation here. So we're going to take the first side tuck the toes of the right foot underneath and lengthen the leg back. I'm going to pivot on the left knee and take the foot out to the side as far as I can. Bring the left hand a little more in line with that left leg. Dropping the right foot to the floor, I'm going to press the hips forwards and turn the body and let myself lift up. So it's a very supported version of side plank. I'm going to make it a little more interesting by taking a breath in and then lifting the body up and coming up onto just the fingertips. So still pressing the back foot down, lifting the body up, finding my balance. So at this point, you're making any adjustments with that front hand. You might bring it further back in towards you, or take it further away, or move it out to the sides. But you want to feel like you've got a good sense of balance. And then you're going to lift the heel away from the floor on that back leg, keeping your toe touching the ground. Take another breath and see if you can lift the entirety of your leg away from the floor, just keeping that sort of internal rotation in the thigh. So up on the fingertips, one leg hovering, one leg supporting, and one arm lifting. And then we'll bring the foot down, hands come down, back into that tabletop position, and we'll just take it to the second side. So strong, but still a bit of a recovery from some of the other more dynamic work. Left leg goes back, right hand comes in as the right foot comes out to the side. We drop the heel in, press the hips forwards, allow yourself to adjust. You want to make sure you're happy on your kneecap. You can always take a bit of extra padding. Remember to press down at this stage into the back foot as well. Take a breath. And then on an exhale, just a little lift up onto the fingertips. Be as light as a feather. Check your balance. Lift the back heel away from the ground again. Got that internal reflection transition taking place. And we're just going to lift the foot away from the floor. Ooh, you can feel that in the outer hip. Bring the foot to the floor, hands to the floor, back onto tabletop. We'll just take the block behind us for seating. Let's take the legs out in front. We'll draw the feet together and then bring the left foot underneath and the right leg over for a seated twist, just settling the sitting bones. Left arm lifts and we rotate round. Tilt the pelvis forwards a little bit to get more extension through the spine. Look gently either over the rear shoulder or chin follows chest. Such a good saying, but it works. And then we'll release. Now we'll take it into the second side. So make sure this knee is pointing forwards. It's down on the floor. That's your real foundation. That and the two sitting bones. Pelvis tilt. Taking it over. And the right hand over to the left side. From there, and take the legs back out. Give them a little shake. Going to take the feet wide as they comfortably can. Come onto the front edge of the sitting bones. Going to draw the left heel in. Turn my torso towards that left knee. Right hand out on the right side. I'm going to take the left hand around the back and either bring it onto the top of the thigh or into the waistband. And then slowly walk my fingers out down the leg and see if I can hook the big toe with that index finger, little middle finger The foot is pointing to the sky, and I'm actually pressing out through the heel, but drawing the hip socket back in. And if you feel like you've warmed your body up enough and you can slide your elbow down a little closer to the floor, you can do. But remember, it's just working within your boundaries. You want to be opening your chest up towards the sky. So if you're dropping your elbow down lower, but bringing your chest into the ground, then you're moving in slightly a different direction. You can try and press the sitting bones down to the floor as well. Spine nice and long. Got one more breath here. And then we'll inhale it back up. We'll do the same to the opposite side. Just taking the legs out, heel into the groin, taking a spin. Get space in the spine first. So moving the pelvis around underneath a little bit, getting into neutral, and then walking the hands out. Seeing how it feels. No assumptions that both sides want to bend as far as the previous side. But if it feels good, bring that elbow a little closer to the ground. Remember, the leg is doing a lot of work. It's pressing and sucking at the same time. We're lifting the chest and the shoulder towards the sky. And then we'll release. Let ourselves come back up. Bring the feet back in. We'll come down to the ground again. We're using the block this time under the back of the head. Knees are high, chin in towards chest and hands behind to support. Roll the spine slowly down to the floor. Unpeel itself. Just wriggle through the hips. Make sure your clothing and everything else feels fine underneath you. And then we'll take the arms out wide. Take a little breath. We'll come into one supine twist. We'll take the legs over to the right side, and I'm going to let that right hand just come down, so I can bring the top leg a little closer down than it would naturally fall for me. Some people have already got their thighs together, in which case that's not going to make a huge difference. But for me, it just gives me an opportunity to stretch out around the back of the hip. And we'll lift up. Come back to the center, or cross over to the opposite side. And use that hand a little bit to just help emphasize the stretch into the buttock. So a fairly relaxed approach to this pose. We're kind of letting gravity and body weight do the work for us. And we'll bring ourselves back to the center. Wriggle through the spine, and then I'm going to come into happy baby. So draw the knees in, then take the knees wide. I slide my fingertips down the shins so the arms are on the inside of the thighs. Chin coming towards my chest so I can see what I'm doing. Is I wrap my hands around the feet to take hold of the little toe, and then lay my head gently back down to the floor. So I want to try and get the spine as flat as I can at this point. So I'm actually moving the tailbone down to the ground again. We keep the knees where they are, but extend the soles of the feet one at a time towards the ceiling. So getting somewhere towards a 90-degree bend between the back of the calf and the back of the thigh. And again, try to keep that nice long neck, and using a little bit of muscular strength to draw the tailbone down towards the floor. So it's somewhere between your lower back muscles and muscles inside your pelvic bowl. And get them working together. Collaborate. It's a good word for a yoga class, isn't it? Collaborate. release from there. And we'll come into Shavasana. So we're going to slowly let the legs come back down. If you get cold quickly on the floor, just grab yourself an extra layer, a blankie, if you wish. From the heels out to the corner edges of your mat, and then let the legs open out. Wriggle the hips around a little bit, the spine and the shoulders and the neck. And then I'm going to let the hands come out to the side of the body, palms up as well. So close my eyes and just soften my jaw. Having trouble with that? Just licking the lips. That works quite well. And we'll begin to stretch those fingers and toes. Breathe a little deeper as we begin to roll through the wrists and ankles. Use the energy of a breath to stretch out any way that feels good. And slowly slide the heels in towards your body. Knees come in towards the chest and take the gentlest of hugs. Just rolling the spine, rocking through the hips, whatever feels good. And then we'll roll down onto the right side as we take a breath in. Knees in towards the chest. Roll the chest to the floor and then exhale, press away. Let ourselves lift. So coming back up to seated postures. And hand in towards the heart. Closing the eyes, we'll take a deeper breath in. And slowly start to exhale, the chin drops. We feel the belly draw to the spine, we bow gently to the floor, sealing our practice. Inhale, just lifting the spine with the breath. Letting the head follow, the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you on the mat again soon.